Welcome to this Sunday's reflection on the Gospel. Well, we have all been to a wedding feast, haven't we? And have you ever noticed how things happen at the reception? In the beginning, people trickled into the wedding hall. They are all prim and proper, and suits and flashy dresses. They are all self conscious, very formal, and correct. Stiff is the word. As the first drinks come round, the guests start mellowing and feeling more and more relaxed and at ease until the dancing starts. And little by little, most of the guests join in the dancing, including Nanno and Nana. That's grandpa and grandma. As the atmosphere warms up, the bow ties are removed, the collars unbuttoned, the suits, jackets removed, and the carefully set dresses get ruffled and crumpled, whilst the expensive handbags are left behind on the empty chairs, and the feverish, joyful dancing takes over. The semi-intoxicated guests lose all the rigidity and turn into jovial, carefree, childlike friends, just enjoying the feast. Was this what Jesus had in mind when he speaks of the wedding feast prepared by the generous and loving Father for his Son? Yes, indeed, and much more. This is what he had in mind when he created humanity. It is for this carefree joy, for this happiness, that he created us. This was his dream. It is his dream for each one of us and for all of us together. Joy and happiness, the only real purpose of life and existence. All else is secondary. But it's not enough to have the wedding venue, the catering, the musicians, the photographers. The invitation must have gone out, and the guests need to accept it. So, the father in the parable sends out his invitations, which are flatly ignored. He insists and sends his servants out again, and the excuses begin. The guests are much more interested in their farms, in their commerce, meaning food and money. Externally, they seemingly are workers, busily toiling to earn an honest living. But celebrating the son's wedding is a waste of time for them. How sad and true is this in our societies and cultures? We are so concentrated on earning a living that we forget that life is for living. We are so occupied making more and more money that we don't have time and space for the joyful companionship that gives real meaning to our lives, our money, our possessions. Which reminds me of what one philosopher once said, referring to our so-called progressive human societies. I see people walking in quiet desperation. God created us to enjoy the feast of life and love that are freely given to us. But we have turned life into a heavy burden, an unpleasant chore. We are not interested in a feast prepared for us to enjoy. We are hell-bent on building our own happiness in our own way, according to our own specifications, ruining the very joy and happiness we think we can attain on our own. Our answer to God's invitation is an outright, clear, and unequivocal No, we don't want your happiness. We want to build our own. God does not need to send his soldiers to destroy us. Our no to real life is our own undoing, our own self destruction. But God does not give up. He cannot stop giving and will not let our false self sufficiency stop Him from offering us the true joy. He sends out His servants again to invite one and all, not just the privileged few who saw themselves as God's chosen ones, His inner circle of friends. He opened His invitation to one and all, the good and the bad, as the Gospel says. Everyone, not just the self-appointed righteous ones. Everyone belongs to God's inner circle of friends. We are invited not because we have any claim to God's love, but because we are all His children, both when we are naughty and when we are well behaved. And the outsiders respond much more willingly, and the feast begins. The joy is being served. The father is so overjoyed seeing his children enjoying themselves with life together with his son. And so he goes round to meet and greet the guests one by one. He wants to thank them for accepting his invitation to share in the joy of his son Jesus, who has just been united in marriage with his beloved bride. And that bride is humanity. But even then, there was bound to be an exception. Not all those present were there with the right attitude, with the right openness. And like so many of us, we do accept God's invitations, but we still want to stick to our own terms. We do say yes, but we are not ready to go the whole way. The wedding garment is the symbol of full openness and receptiveness to the joy and love that only God can give. Not wearing the wedding garment symbolizes our half-hearted yes to God's invitation. We want to compromise between our way and God's way of doing things. We want to love, but on our own conditions. We want to give, but only if we get something back. We want to be faithful, but we want and we insist on our right to have a break when we decide to. We want to love others, but not all others, just those whom we like, not those who are inconvenient. We do believe in God, but only when He listens to and grants our prayers. We want to follow Jesus, but we stop at the gates of Gethsemane. We stop at the foot of Calvary. We refuse to go the whole way and climb the cross with Him. Isn't this the situation in so many so-called Christian cultures? We are against abortion, but we also hate blacks and immigrants. We are for freedom of expression, but also want to shut up the voice of the church and people of faith. We want equality, but we want also to discriminate against those who are different from us. We are all out to help drug addicts, promote human rights, but at the same time we want to legalize drugs, legalize prostitution. We want to have healthy children, even while systematically destroying our families. Together with our highest authorities, we gather for solemn celebrations, pontifical masses, we join religious feast parades, At the same time, we approve infamous, unjust, and discriminating laws, and we freely engage in corrupt practices. And that's not the ones only, but the ones at the top. It's also those at the bottom. It is these compromises that turn our yes to God into a no to God. We want to be part of His feast, but we refuse to wear the garment of God's Spirit, of God's love. No wonder that our earthly joy is just a superficial excitement that is short-lived and hollow. Despite our so-called progressive culture, booming economy, comfortable lifestyles, there are increasingly more and more people who are walking in quiet desperation. God is inviting us to a wedding feast and not to a self-inflicted funeral. What is our answer? Is it yes or is it no? God bless you.
So many times that I've said maybe, so many times that I've said no, so many laters that never came to pass, but now I give my yes to you. So many times I've hesitated, so many times I've looked away, so many moments that I have had to choose, but now I give my yes to you. Yes to you, I want to find you. Yes to you, yes today. Yes to you, I want to choose you. Yes to you, yes today. So many times I've almost made it, so many times I've looked for you, so many simple words that I let slip away, but now I give my yes to you. Yes to you, I want to find you. Yes to you, yes today. Yes to you, I want to choose you. Yes to you, yes today. So many times that I said maybe, so many times that I've said no, so many laters that never came to pass, but now I give my yes to you. But now I give my yes to you. Yes to you, I want to find you. Yes to you, yes today. Yes to you, I want to choose you. Yes to you, yes today.